Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me this morning. I'll be creating a new link for November to connect and to sign up for the November sessions for level 3. So good of you to join this morning. Hope you guys are doing well on this Friday. Kind of not the greatest weather outside, gloomy, dark, but that's okay. Going to be heading down to this city later this evening. Going to stay the night and then check out the Royal Winter Fair tomorrow. You remember that, Paul? The Winter Fair down Toronto? Good times. I bet you've gone. Kids always enjoy that. We're going to check out the horse show. They do a horse show, horse jumping and stuff. Yeah, really fun. Get to see a bunch of cows and pigs. Get to eat, you know, some snacks, some fries, you know, that type of food. You're headed north after class. Nice. Coming up this way. Did you hear the story about Musk? Even further, holy smokes. 1 trillion Tesla payday with moonshot promises. What the bloody? Tesla's robot will perform beyond human levels of surgery, and its EVs will play a big role in getting to Mars. Okay. I don't know about getting to Mars. Don't know about that. Musk's story is not about pay, but voting power of the shares. Yeah, I've been hearing that. Near Sault Ste. Marie. Oh, that's a far drive. Sheesh. Anyways, yeah, lots going on in the markets. Some of the trending tickers, Bitcoin, was looking at Bitcoin. And we sure got that drop. Okay, here was what we were looking at. If you guys remember, I was looking for a short from here to here. Look, I left the arrow there. A pretty crazy estimation with my arrow, huh? That price was going to get down to here. First thing is we didn't get the signal here that we wanted off that daily. And that happens a lot. You know, price comes into a zone very quickly and just jets. But if I would have just traded the zone, I would have still been in the trade. Even though it broke through, the stop would have not been hit. That would have been a good trade. I did not take that, but that would have been good. Any of you take that trade? Yeah, we were looking at the 1 hour time frame. Was it 1 hour time frame or the 4 hour when price got up there? At first it was up here. Right here. It happened too quickly. And then it came back up. And this is the 1 hour time frame. Yeah, it doesn't look like it really did anything. The 4 hour. Yeah, looks like the demand here. Yeah, it fell short of rallying up to the supply that was created on the 4 hour. And let's take a look at the 1 hour. You know, when a zone breaks, you know, the last thing you're looking for is a short, really. Because the zone's broken. Oh boy, I hate when that happens. block. Yeah, nothing really there. It was unfortunate. I could have set the trade up, just trade the zone, but it was risky. Weekly demand was holding, but we did have a discussion on this chart, and we talked about how all these multiple dips into this weekly demand zone. It was starting to look weaker and weaker and weaker. We had this ascending trend line here, if you guys remember. We were talking about how it broke, okay? Not a very high quality trend line, but you could see how price contacted, held, and then held one more time, and then big push to the downside from here, okay? And you're tracking the zones on the daily time frame. Okay, we had this zone here nested within the weekly. That got taken out by supply. And then we saw this new one here that we were looking for a potential long trade. Remember that? Because we were thinking if it came down and tested this area without hitting the supply, we'd be looking for a long trade, okay? But what took place was that supply was contacted, and so it put price in a range, okay? And then we were looking at the range, and we wanted to watch to see if demand was going to break or supply. And what happened was demand broke, producing supply. Okay, but demand on the weekly time frame was still holding. Second test was here. So taking a daily supply short when price was testing a second time, and the weekly was still holding. Remember, weekly is this area here. Okay, and so first test here, second test here, higher than the first. This is typically what we see when it's accumulating. So there was still, up until here, there was still, a very good chance that the banks were going to accumulate a position. So we were cautious. We didn't want to take a short at this point. We were suspecting it could go higher. So they removed this area of supply right here, producing demand down below. Then they produced this demand here because they removed this key supply that was holding price to the downside. This was an important zone here, okay? Then we had some news driven event that dropped price down really quickly and spiked through the weekly. And then it held the demand zone, that very important demand zone back here, okay? The one that took out this supply. And it held, price rallied, and then we got something very interesting. This supply broke this demand, taking price to new lows. Okay, well, let me go with the red. Okay, so we had two green arrows indicating to us that we could have a rally forming from here because banks are accumulating. And then we had a big drop here, removing this significant demand zone, trading through the weekly. All right, so now the focus of my attention was potential shorts from here. Okay, because it was still risky, because at the end of the day, we still had a weekly demand holding. Price was spiking through it. Yes, it went lower on the third time, which slightly favors a push and break of the demand zone. At the end of the day, you still have a weekly demand zone. But odds were pretty darn good that this supply was going to hold and price was going to drop from it and break through the weekly demand and head lower. So unfortunately, there was no signal. Like I said, I could have just placed a trade, but for me at this time, the odds of that zone holding were probably, in my mind, around 60%. Okay. It was slightly favorable, but not to the point where I'd want to just trade the zone. Okay. Because for me, the odds weren't good enough. I'm not looking for slightly above 50%. And if I'm going to trade the zone, I want it to be like 75% and higher in my mind that the zone's going to hold. But the logic was dead on. Okay. Because yeah, a little spike above it, but now we're getting that push to the downside. Weekly demand is clearly broken. Clearly broken. Okay. So now what are we getting? Potential supply. It's not supply yet, but potentially it's supply. Oops. Okay, so we're going to watch and see how this candle closes. Today it'll close, and then we'll see. It's likely going to close at the lows here, and then we will have this zone being a key zone. What's so key about it, Kevin? Well, it was the last demand in the uptrend. That's what's so key about it. Pretty darn important, because we had an uptrend, I remember when we were talking about uptrends, we're talking about how at the highs we want to see a couple basing candles, right? Important in the same area. When you look at this block here, you want to see multiple basing candles fitting within that block, just like here, right? Drop, that's a clear drop. There's no sidestepping, okay? A big clear drop here. And then we got basing, move to the upside, downside, downside, big move to the upside, basing. We got our move down and sideways action down here. So this was a clear uptrend and a good quality one too. That's why I had my eyes on a potential long on Bitcoin as well. So, putting things into perspective, we have a broken uptrend on the weekly time frame. So logically, what does that tell us? We're going to look for a trade. We got to look one time frame higher, right? So we go one time frame higher, and what do we have here? I'd probably draw it like that. Okay, do I have an uptrend? No, I would not draw an uptrend. Why? Because one basing candle here and one basing candle here, so no uptrend. But there is significant demand here. So I wouldn't want to just trade the zone blindly, because first of all, it's a very wide zone. Okay, so you may not be able to get the best entry. I mean, there's a micro Bitcoin futures chart here. This one's November's. Let's get the next one here. Which one is this one? December. What does January's look like? Not good enough. February, December's probably better. Yeah. Okay. Micro Bitcoin, probably something like that. Maybe a little higher. Okay. So this one is the chart that I'd be watching personally. And I'll remove this one. Okay, so a very good chance that we see price decline to here. Okay, that's 90K. Not too bad. Not too bad. It was over 120 not long ago. And if you can get in, well, let me ask you, price drops into the monthly. What do you do now, guys? Anybody want to join in? Who has a mic? Put up your hand. We can have a group discussion here. It doesn't have to be just one person. Can I get 3 people to put up their hand? 3 people. Three people to put up their hand. Troy, Paul, and George. There you go, guys. What would you do here at this monthly?
Morning.
Good morning, Paul. How's it going?
Great.
Good. What do we do? Price comes down to the monthly. What do we do?
I'm going to look at the weekly.
Yeah. If that is supply.
A shift of momentum or a dynamic shift.
Monthly demand, and let me just put those there. Wait a minute. Where's the? Did I just put a line there? Apparently not. Let's do it again. Yeah, so this is what it looks like on the monthly. So you could just imagine that if the price did drop, we'd have supply here. So highest probability would be to wait for price to remove that, produce demand, and buy it. That's one option. Troy, what do you think? Watch daily when Bitcoin is in the demand on the monthly. You could look for an early entry. I'm getting lots of feedback. You could look for an early entry on the daily, but just know that it's risky because of that weekly supply. Let's look at the daily time frame. Where is the monthly? Monthly is a big zone down here. Right here. Okay, and so weekly is going to be right here somewhere, give or take. Nice demand. This is good. We're looking for signs of the market to validate zones for us. So if you look on your left here, you'll see this zone was tested and used to propel price to go higher. So this would be a very important zone to me. So I'm going to key demand and play. Very important. I want to thicken those lines so it sticks out. And so if price was to come down here, break through here, it's going to create some supply. Removal of that is going to be important. And, you know, we're likely going to get a nice looking demand zone. So that could be your first spot of entry right here. If you were to do that, I would take some profits at weekly supply. That because now you're going to be in a range. And so you can get a lot of this and that. You can get stopped out at that demand because you'll be at a range between weekly and monthly. Or it could rally up, come halfway down, eat away at it, and then break through. That's possible. But we don't know which one. What we do know is that price would be in a range when monthly got hit, and likely weekly and monthly zones will be bouncing the, you know, price back and forth. That's what we know. Troy, no, I couldn't hear you. You're self-muted. You have to unmute. Derek, you are self-muted as well. You have to, there you go, Troy.
All right, copy that. I can hear.
There you go, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, good.
But
So what do
I
you
was gonna wait till new forms of weekly demand being created off the monthly and removal of weekly supply, like you just said earlier,
Yeah, that would be ideal.
with a strong impulse to the upside, and comes back down, and you can just buy. You can either buy at the weekly areas of demand, the new ones, or you can buy new daily areas of demand coming off that new weekly.
Yeah. What if price doesn't drop to the weekly demand? Then what?
That does not drop to the weekly to the
Yeah. What if price was to do this? Comes down, comes up, creates demand, and then just continues.
Then I would look one time frame lower after that new area of weekly demand was created, and see if I can buy anything off the daily that's creating new ones on the way up.
Yeah. One thing that years ago I started to see was like I started studying what happens when a demand zone is being created. Like it rallies, price rallies. Let me